Recently had a chance sitting down with Dr. David Donohue to talk about lifestyle choices and implications on health and longevity. Dr. Donohue is Chief Medical Officer and Director of Lifestyle Medicine at Progressive Health of Delaware and is certified by the American Board of Lifestyle Medicine. Also holds a master's in science and microbiology from Stanford, so his credentials are really outstanding. What I think you'll find in the excerpts from this interview are some unique approaches in what we're looking now as the new wave of how medicine's going to be practiced at the primary care level and what that means as opportunities for you and I. If you'd like access to the full interview, please sign up through longevityadvantage.com. Enjoy.
And so I gradually came of this realization that that food is important and way more important than we give it credit for. And it started to occur to me that we have this, in my medical training, traditional medical training, we have this systematic overconfidence in medications and a systematic disregard of people's ability to make lifestyle changes. And so one of the key things that I did is over the years I had a career in computer science in parallel with all this. And so I was practicing medicine, also doing computer science. I designed a system that would monitor the scientific literature. And so I pointed it at monitoring all the research that comes out published in the space regarding longevity, heart disease, cancer, lifestyle. And so I was reading every single article that was published for a year and a half. And what I saw was that the research that's coming out that shows that how we can influence our lifespan is almost 100% in this camp of showing how powerful plant foods are, vegetables, fruits, fiber, legumes. This is just this recurring theme. And I realized, my goodness, there's this universe of research out there that I was not plugged into. Famously, many folks have said this, and it's absolutely true. We are not trained in traditional medical education in nutrition, in lifestyle. We're taught that people won't change, don't even bother with it. But by the way, yes, it's recommended to get people to have a healthy lifestyle, but let's get straight to the drugs.
But obviously that goes back to we've missed a whole piece of how do we keep people healthy, and it's a little late in the game, at the age of 80 to be trying to educate someone on lifestyle changes.
And so there's a lot of enthusiasm behind lifestyle medicine, and I think lifestyle medicine holds the keys to a healthy and long life. Diabetes is not a fate that we just have to sit and live with. It can be prevented and reversed. And medicine hasn't really been engaging in that activity hardly at all.
When we eat meat, we're really still eating plants that have been processed by an
right.
animal versus a factory, but it has many of the same issues associated with it, right?
The animal's kind of the middleman between the plant and ourselves. But unfortunately, the animal has stripped away the food of a lot of the healthy aspects, like the fiber. So a lot of people aren't aware there is zero fiber in animal products. And we mention fiber a lot because fiber seems to be, we don't like to talk about nutrients and macronutrients. We like to talk about whole food in lifestyle medicine. But if you're going to talk about one, if you're going to emphasize one macronutrient, it would be fiber. As opposed to protein, as opposed to fat. The research is very clear that fiber is healthy, and it's a nutrient you want to emphasize. So the more fiber you eat, the less diabetes you get, the less heart disease you get, the less breast cancer you get, the less dementia you get, the longer you live. So fiber is absolutely, and these are very strong correlations, and you find these in prospective trials of all sizes. So fiber is a nutrient you want to eat. Fiber is exclusively found in plant foods. So,
once we've got many of these diseases, treatment is going to be minimally effective at best. But certainly lots of work now coming out suggesting that there's lots of things we can do proactively to help to at least delay and hopefully not encounter in later years.
Absolutely. There's a lot more we can do than people are aware. regardless of the chronic disease, prevention works better than cure. A lot of this is reversible. Dementia starts at a much earlier than many people are aware of. There's like 7 or 8 stages of dementia. And the first stage is really just, you could pick it up on the MRI. A lot of people aren't aware of it. If you get an MRI and you're in your 50s or 60s, we can see the early stages of dementia. You've got brain shrinking. You've got white matter changes, as they call them. So it is absolutely the right task, the right challenge for us is to try to keep that brain as healthy as possible. Of all of our possessions, our brain is probably our most valuable. If you bundle those 5 behavior types together, they can have a really powerful impact in how long our brain stays young.
As you talk about that, most of those overlay the same 5 factors that we talk about, being mind. The only one we didn't talk about in there was environment, diet, exercise, and community. So many of the same, and this is the same thing we see, right, in terms of physical health, cognitive health, the solutions or the preventive measures are all the same.
Right.
We keep seeing the recurring themes, and they don't seem to be all that complicated. Like that's the irony of all this.
Right.
It's really very simple, isn't it? Like,
right. As they say, there's not one diet to prevent heart disease, another diet to prevent cancer, another diet to prevent Alzheimer's. There's one diet that keeps you healthy and helps you live to be 100. There's the same with exercise. There's not one kind of exercise for the brain and one for the heart. So I think all these things cross-link. They all influence one another.
Comment was on how much money we're saving by educating people around both health and kind of caring for their lifestyle choices.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The research shows that people who have, the more chronic diseases you have, the more expensive you are, and people with 2 or 3 chronic diseases are like double, triple, quadruple the cost per year to our healthcare system. People developing diabetes dramatically increases your costs to our healthcare system per year. So it's and this is cost to the healthcare system, but it's also cost to you, because if you've got diabetes, you're on diabetes drugs. These are among the most expensive medications out there. Insulin is now $400, $500 a month, and it's grown something like 300% in the last 10 years. It's like the price of insulin has tripled.
So with sleep, we kind of, in my understanding, it's really the 2 elements. It's your deep sleep and your REM sleep are probably the 2 most important, and then we have the transition zones in between, right? So the challenge, if we don't get enough sleep and we clip it off early, it's the REM sleep. Ultimately, we're cheating ourselves, right?
Right. Absolutely. It becomes a precious commodity. I mean, there's folks in there, especially as we get older, we seem to get less REM sleep. It gets harder to come by. So there's folks walking around who are functioning every day who are essentially not getting any REM sleep, or very, very little. And there's a consequence. It just strips you of your spontaneity and much of your memory. So it's absolutely key. And as you say, it tends to come later in the night. So we've got to engineer that sleep environment so we can get 8 hours. People say that's impossible. It can. I don't want to say it can be done in all cases, but I can tell you it can be improved in almost all cases.
It's fine to live for the moment, but are you prepared to give away the last third of your life because of things that you may happen to think are really fun to do today? They become what we think of as at-risk behavior.
Oh yeah.
So we tend to discount, I think, what is truly at-risk behavior. So one would be right up there is cheating yourself of sleep.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
It's not that different than going skydiving. Right? The more you do it, the more exposure you're going to have, and the more likely you're going to have some consequences. It's just a question of when they start to appear. It just may not be as immediate as a skydiving accident.
Another at-risk behavior is loneliness. Is a lonely lifestyle. And so an important thing that we often don't emphasize enough is the importance of those social connections. And a lot of folks, a very significant percentage of folks have loneliness and don't have a single person in their life that they can have a heart-to-heart to, a conversation with. And that's a real problem. So I think one of the factors that folks need to do, and we need to help people, is to build those connections. So really putting that on almost on your to-do list of going through the steps to build some social connections and build some real warm, caring relationships. So that's something we don't give enough credit to, but loneliness kills, and the research is pretty clear on that. It's helpful to plan ahead. I mean, they talk about investments, financial investments, and you can make health investments in terms of your dietary habits, but it's also helpful to plan ahead with social investments and building those friendships over time.
So I happen to know you're a bit of a runner.
Yes, I saw you at it was the Caesar Rodney half marathon, right, in March?
We ended up doing a half marathon together, and it's part of actually of people that I involve with in terms of coaches and things. And there's a common theme that I recognized pretty early was how much endurance sports stimulates what a healthy lifestyle is, because it involves planning, day-to-day commitment over time, and you don't just get to show up at the start and say, oh, I think I'll go do a half marathon today. There are people out there who can do that. Right, but they're at the very end of the tail.
Point, there is a strong analogy there between planning for a race and running the race and executing. I think planning is the recurring theme here, right? Whether it's financial or health related or social or preparing for a half marathon, you've got to plan ahead and start making those investments. I see this a lot where, oh my gosh, that tiredness I've always felt, or that trouble sleeping that I've had, or that arthritic pain or that back pain. I don't want to say that switching to a plant-based diet makes everything go away for every person. And often we can't predict what's going to get better. But oftentimes we will be surprised at just how many things can get better when someone is able to switch to a healthier lifestyle, in particular a healthier plant-based diet.
Everything for me keeps coming back is simplifying our lives, and this is a very simple approach, and it's certainly been my experience, and everyone that I've encountered who has come back. Actually ran into a former student just this morning who took my class a year ago, and he couldn't stop saying just how much has changed from a year ago to today.
Wow.
And all just simple choices that they just, again, really, really intelligent people, they just didn't know.
Right.
So access to kind of the information that great doctors like you are volunteering to share with us is just so helpful, and so much better than a lot of the stuff they'll find just searching on the internet. All these things that we can try to encourage people to don't wait until you're in a crisis. These are really safe and helpful choices to make as early as you can start.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Thank you.
It's my pleasure.